10-year-old Minu lives in the house of a distant aunt. She is an orphan, profoundly deaf, and has never spoken a word. Her guardians consider themselves charitable for taking her in, but the arrangement is practical. They have secured a servant who works 24 hours a day, requires no wages, and remains entirely silent. Minu perceives a layer of reality that remains invisible to those around her. She relies on a sixth sense to navigate her world, a mental faculty that takes the raw data of sight and translates it into a landscape of logic and vivid internal creation. This internal architecture serves as a defense. In the face of total social isolation, she has become the sole engineer of a private universe, a necessary structure for her own survival. Her day begins at 4 a.m. While the household sleeps, Minu rises in the pitch darkness to begin the heavy labor that defines her life. In the early sky, she watches the morning star. To a scientist, it's a massive gas giant, but to Minu, it's a sister, a fellow servant waking up in a celestial kitchen. This diagram shows the mental equivalency she makes, connecting the glowing planet directly to the domestic clay stove she must light herself. She interprets the weather through this domestic lens. When the horizon turns a vivid red, she sees a stove that has been lit perfectly. When gray clouds block the view, she assumes her friend in the sky failed to clear the ash, leaving behind a pile of unlit coal. By mapping her chores onto the sky, the morning feels less like a solitary burden. If a presence in the stars is performing the same work at the same hour, her labor becomes part of a shared, universal rhythm. Her workday starts at the coal pile. Every strike of her hammer is a focused act of aggression, smashing her enemy into dust. The tools of her trade have names and histories. The hammer is Gadai, and the stone block she strikes against is Shanu. They are her primary allies in the morning's first conflict. She views the kitchen stove as a demoness. When the coal begins to glow, she watches the fire with a sense of satisfaction, seeing the red embers as the remains of her defeated enemies being consumed. Outside, the conflict continues on a smaller scale. She carries a grudge against the hornets that once stung her, and she hunts them with a knotted towel, striking them down with precise, practiced movements. These victories provide resources for her friends. She gathers the fallen hornets and leaves them for the ants, watching with delight as they carry the heavy prizes away. This mythology extends to every object she gutches. She treats a dented pot as a wounded companion and washes the drinking glasses with the care one might give a small child. Only the meat safe is a villain, a greedy creature that sits in the corner and swallows the family's food. Her relatives see a silent girl performing repetitive chores. For Minu, these tasks provide the agency her life otherwise lacks, turning a routine of exploitation into a series of meaningful, personal encounters. In the afternoons, Minu slips away to the roof. From there, she can see a single bare branch extending from a jackfruit tree, a sight she studies with intense focus. This ritual began with a lie. Years ago, an aunt told Minu that her father wasn't dead, but was merely in a foreign land and would return home when she was older. She found evidence for this promise. A neighbor's father returned from abroad just as a yellow bird landed on that branch. Minu's logic locked these two events together. The bird's appearance is the signal that her own father has arrived. The bird has not returned in the month since. Despite the empty branch, she climbs to the roof every day to wait. This vigil is the foundation of her psychological world. It provides the hope that makes her daily labor and her deep isolation endurable. That foundation is tested when a sudden, violent fever strikes. Minu wakes in the middle of the night, her body shaking with cold. In her world, illness is not a physical state to be managed, but a failure of duty. She feels a deep sense of guilt as the morning approaches, fearing she won't be able to fulfill her role in the household. She attempts to follow her rhythm. She finds the morning star and offers her silent greeting. But as she tries to start her work, the physical reality of the fever stops her. For the first time, the cycle breaks. Her body collapses and she is forced to crawl back to her bed, leaving the coal uncrushed and the stove cold. The collapse of her routine is a threat to the world she has built. Without her work and her rituals, the structure she uses to maintain her sanity begins to fray. Through the fog of the fever, one thought remains clear. She has not checked the roof. She has not looked for the bird. She drags herself toward the stairs. This video shows the physical cost of the climb. Each step is a struggle for a body weakened by infection, performed in total silence to avoid waking her aunt. She reaches the roof and sees a brilliant red sunrise. In her mind, this is a sign of success. Her sister in the sky has managed to light the fire even while Minu was down. A moment of stillness. Then she looks at the jackfruit tree. Perched on the bare branch is a small yellow bird. The fever seems to vanish in a rush of adrenaline. She is certain the wait is over. Her father is back, and she turns to run down the stairs, her illness forgotten in the sudden, overwhelming momentum of her arrival. Minu's story ends with a sprint toward a father she has never known. In a world that denied her language and autonomy, she used her own imagination to build a life where she was never truly a victim and never truly alone.